What is up, guys? It is your boy MaineMania back with another Dead by Daylight developer update. And what an update we have coming to the PTB. So, finally, Freddy is getting nerfed. Will it be enough? Now, the community's been frustrated with Freddy for a really long time because unlike, some of the other top killers in the game, Freddy has always been very low skill but extremely high reward. He's had the highest kill rate in the game since Freddy's rework. He has had the highest kill rate in the game consistently every single stat update. And I think that's been very frustrating for the player base, knowing how much low skill he takes. I think there was a lot of big problems with Freddy. I actually was gonna make a video of how to fix Freddy, but thank you devs for putting this out first so that video is pointless. But a couple of the things that I think they need to do with Freddy. First things first, his dream clocks, the alarm clocks that wake you up. If you guys did not know, when you fall asleep, the farthest clock away from you is your wake up clock. And I don't think that should be the case. I think when you fall asleep, one of the clocks, a random clock, should be your wake up clock.
Hey, listen.
I think that mechanic alone would encourage survivors to actually wake up. And I think always having it be the farthest away clock, it's just so much of a time waster that most survivors don't want to run across the map to wake up. I think it should be similar to the way pigs boxes work. You know what I mean? In regards to when you fall asleep, one of the wake up clocks randomly is assigned as the clock that wakes you up. Sometimes it's the clock closest to you, sometimes it is the one farthest away from you. But I think the randomness would create balance in that one mechanic alone. The next thing I would have fixed with Freddy is your sleep timer. I understand that you fall asleep automatically every 60 seconds. I would up that to 90 seconds because I do not feel that somebody should wake up, get on a gen, and be guaranteed to fall asleep before they could finish a gen. I personally feel like if you spend the time to go wake up, you should at least be able to complete a gen without immediately falling back asleep by the time you're done. And since it takes 80 seconds to repair a gen, I think a 90-second auto sleep timer would have been a little bit more sufficient in that manner. But that's just my take. In addition to that, we all know what the major problems with Freddy is his cast times. Freddy could instantly put up fake pallets and instantly put dream pallets without basically losing any time in chases. And there's no other killer that has castables that can do that. Hag can't do that. Trapper can't do that. And granted, some of their castables are stronger, but in my opinion, Freddy was the only killer that wasn't punished for any of his castables. He could do them in chase without losing any distance or speed for that matter. And when I say any, I mean it's not like it wasn't any kind of slowdown, but there pretty much was no slowdown. So hopefully these are the things that they fixed, but let's go ahead and jump right into it. So they have decreased his movement speed while placing a snare to 4 meters a second. Previously, there was no speed change, so there you go, I was right. And they reduced the maximum number of placed snares from 8 to 5. I think that's a good change. I probably would have done 8 to 6 here, but I think that's a good change. The maximum number of dream pallets has been reduced from 10 to 7. You see, this is where I would have went from 10 to 6. So my big thing, personally speaking, with the fake pallets is it needs to be strategic. Do you know what I mean? Like, I personally think the biggest problem with Freddy's, not the biggest, the cast time was the biggest problem, but the second biggest problem with the snares and the pallets were when Freddy's would just flood them all over the map because he has so many. So what I think what they should have done here is they should have limited the minimum distance between, snares or pallets, meaning you can't flood one tile with 3-4 fake pallets, which is what we were pretty much seeing left and right against Freddy players. I think it should be more strategic, and I think maybe they should have limited the amount of castables per tile to 1 to 2 snares or 1 to 2 pallets per tile or something along that nature. I just think they should have increased the minimum distance between the castables. So I don't think they addressed that here, but how many times have you been hooked by a Freddy and he loads your hook like Hagwood with 4 or 5 snares, so that anybody coming for you, you better hope to God that they're awake, because if they're not, he's just gonna teleport to the closest gen to it and just come and tunnel and etc, etc, etc. So I've always felt like that's really oppressive gameplay, and I just, once again, it's all about building skill and strategy into his kit. Freddy has an amazing kit, but I think Freddy players have not had to be strategic with the use of any of their items. So reducing the number of pallets and snares does force them to be more resourceful in, you know, managing what they're using where. But I also would have liked them to see them implement some kind of minimum distance, you know, barrier where you can't put, you know, 3-4 snares at the same loop or something along that line. You know what I mean? I think that would have been helpful. So I don't really know how much of a slowdown placing a snare to 4 meters a second really is. I'm not really sure how much of a slowdown that really is, but I'm curious to see that in the PTB. Now, next, a handful of add-ons have also received changes. The add-ons which reduced action speeds now make various actions louder. So instead of giving his slowdowns Thanatophobia, they're basically giving his slowdown Strider for the most part. They're basically giving his slowdown a Strider style effect. So repairing generators, grunts of pain, and footsteps will be louder now with, you know, jump rope, swing chains, etc. versus, you know, Forever Freddy, which was not fun for anybody. Now, they did address his most problematic add-on, in my opinion, from a game design perspective. Black Box is being changed. Now, no one was complaining about Black Box. Nobody ever, you know, complained about it or mentioned it, but in my opinion, I just felt like, once again, from a game design perspective, that's just such an oppressive add-on. One person starts the match as the obsession. They can never wake up all match, and Forever Freddy is a thing, so they will be permanently debuffed the entire match with 0 counterplay to them whatsoever. Maybe it's not a big deal to most players, but I just don't ever feel that it's fair for one survivor to start the match permanently debuffed and permanently slowed down for the remainder of the match with 0 counterplay and nothing they can do about it. Pray to God somebody uses DS, which you're not going to get against Freddy, because Freddy's immune to borrow time, which was another thing I was going to talk about. Freddy should not be immune to borrow time, which he basically is, because even if you try to make an unhook awake and he hits you before you go ahead and get the unhook, now you're sleeping and now you don't have borrowed time. So I think they should have addressed that as well. Let's hope that they do. But I was never a fan of Black Box. I just don't think any survivor should be starting a match permanently debuffed with 0 counterplay. I think that's horrible game design. So I'm really glad that they changed it. I'm really glad that they changed that. So Black Box has a brand new effect. When an exit gate is opened, it is blocked for sleeping survivors for the next 10 seconds. I like that. I like that. It forces the survivor to wake up before they leave. It gives the killer a little bit more chance to make a play or to potentially get another hook, or, you know, it forces the survivor to at least loop for a, you know, short amount of time in order to be able to escape. I like that. I think it creates a good end game, you know, it creates more end game excitement, you know what I mean? Interaction, more end game interaction. I don't mind that at all. I think that's a great change. Once again, I didn't agree with the original concept and design of the original Black Box. No survivor should randomly, you know, start a match and just be permanently debuffed with 0 counterplay. It's just not good design at the end of the day. Was it broken and like so unfair and so like it's just bad design. You know what I mean? Like from that perspective, it was really bad design in my opinion. So alarm clocks. Alarm clocks have also received some tweaks to make their effects clearer and more rewarding. Using an alarm clock will now make you fully immune to sleep for 30 seconds. Even if you are hit by the killer, basically. This is very interesting. I did not see this coming. This is interesting. This effect is now shown on the HUD by turning your sleep timer yellow and having it tick down. I like this. Once again, my problem with the alarm clocks is that they're not random. And I think when you fall asleep, a random alarm clock should be selected as your wake up clock. When you fall asleep, it's always the farthest clock away. So most survivors will either mess up skill checks on purpose to wake up or wake each other up versus using the clocks. I think if you randomize that, yes, there will be some times where, you know, the closest clock is there, you wake up quick, but you'll still have, you know, a decent enough variance of where your clock ends up and when or whether it makes sense to go to the clock to wake up versus having a teammate, you know, wake you up instead. So I definitely think that should have been changed about alarm clocks, but this is actually a pretty solid change. I like that a lot, and that 30-second immunity, I like that a lot, especially in the borrowed time situation that I just mentioned, you know, a little bit earlier. So pretty good change. That's an excellent change. I'm pretty stoked about that. I didn't see that one coming. That's pretty awesome. With these changes, we hope to promote more strategic use of his dream traps rather than placing them constantly during a chase. But like, my thing is, devs, like, if you give somebody that many resources and you don't have a minimum distance between where they can be placed, do you not think that that's the way people are going to use them? You know, they're just going to spam them because they can. And if there's no slowdowns for using them, then obviously they're going to. Do you know what I mean? Like, Freddy's not the first killer in the game to have castables. You look at a killer like Hag. Hag slows down when she places her traps. Now, granted, her traps are stronger than Freddy's, you know, for the most part. But at the end of the day, if you've seen the way they play, like, you would, if you give a killer the ability to go like this for a half second and slow down the survivor by what, 20%, 15, 20%, whatever it is. What makes you think they're not going to go like this? Like, what makes you think they're not going to play like that? Of course they are. So, I mean, I just feel like more thought should have been put into him not having a slowdown for his castables. His castables should definitely have had a much longer slowdown. So I'm really glad that these changes are coming. I don't know if they're enough. I mean, they did get rid of the slowdowns on the add-ons, which is a phenomenal change. The sleep clock timer is a phenomenal change. But I think the non-randomness of his wake-up clocks and the his immunity to borrow time, I think those are two things that are missing from the changes. But let's continue reading on and see what else is coming. My boy Puppy! Puppy's getting some changes. Please do not mess up Puppy, devs. Puppy is one of the funnest killers to go up against. Please do not mess him up. But his portals need work. I don't think his portals are very good. But his portals were broken when he came out, so I don't think the portals are right. That's the only thing I want to see them mess with. Alright, our focus for the Demogorgon is to give it more mobility with its portals. You made the following changes to base portals. Increase speed while in a portal. Okay, that's a good change. Reduce cooldown after exiting a portal. That's not specific, but I would like to see what that is. I want to see what that reduced cooldown after exiting a portal is, because, you know, when it comes to situations like 3 gens and exit gate camping, that kind of thing, especially with the end game perks that exist now, no way out, no ed, I think they need to be very careful with that reduced cooldown on teleportation abilities, because the thing about Demogorgon that balanced his portals was how long it takes to close them up. Do you know what I mean? It took a pretty good while to close them up, and he would pretty much be notified, so he can teleport to that portal and cancel you being able to close it. And I think they need to be careful with that. But reduced cooldown doesn't give us numbers, so we don't know what that could be. It could be 1 or 2 seconds. It could be half of the time it used to be. We're gonna have to see in the PTB what that actually is, but they just need to be very careful with that cooldown. Now, increased undetectable length after exiting the portal. This needed to be buffed. 100%, this needed to be buffed. I don't know what they're going to increase that. Once again, they're not giving us numbers, but 100% this needed to be buffed. So I'm actually glad to see these changes sometimes. This looks pretty good. On top of these changes, we have done a complete pass on Puppy's add-ons, and your boy is not trying to go through all of these, but here are some. Okay, it's not the full list. I thought it was going to go through the full list. I don't got time for that. All right, but the lifeguard whistle. Survivors near activated portals are indicated by Killer Instinct without having to charge of the abyss. That is a very, very, very strong add-on change. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Rotten Pumpkin, Pumpkin Flesh, blah, but we don't care about that. When traversing the Upside Down, the portal you enter is destroyed, and you gain 200 blood points for the traversal. Alright, so you can kind of farm blood points as you maneuver your way around the map. It doesn't look like they're increasing the number of portals that he has. One thing that I think they needed to buff about Puppy is if you used all your portals, I think you should be able to put down another portal and it cancel your oldest portal. I think that's one thing that they should have buffed about him. But so far, good changes. We didn't see numbers. We don't really know what these reduced cooldown, increased undetectable length, what they actually mean. There's not much we can say about it because we have no idea if that's a little bit or a lot of it. We'll have to wait and see in the PTB. Huntress! The first thing they write is don't panic. You guys see my reaction? The first thing they write is don't panic. All right. We have not changed the Huntress's base kit. Good, because it didn't need to be changed. Them hitboxes do need a little tweaking though. You know, it would be nice to tweak those hitboxes a little bit, but because everybody loves getting hit with hatchets around corners. But we have done a pass to her add-ons to bring them up to modern standards, including Eerie Head. I'm scared to look, guys. I'm scared to look. All right. Soldier's Putty. Huntress moves to base speed. She becomes a 115 killer when she has no hatchets. I think this is a great change. I think that is a great add-on. So they're giving her a second Eerie add-on, which I think that's pretty cool. I don't know if that should be, well, I don't think that deserves to be an Eerie add-on. What do you guys think? To me, that should be a very rare add-on. It's a great add-on, but I don't know if it should be iridescent. I know they wanted to add another iridescent, but that feels like a purple add-on to me. That doesn't feel like an iridescent add-on. Not to knock it. It's a good change. I think that should be very rare. I don't think that should be Eerie. Iridescent Head. The bane of everybody's existence and probably the most broken add-on in the game, not named Tombstones. Iridescent Head inflicts dying upon the victim. Caps their maximum carried hatchets at 1, regardless of the effects of other add-ons, meaning no more Eerie Infantry and no more Eerie Leather Loot. I don't like it. I don't like it. Eerie Head is extremely strong. Don't get me wrong. But I think Eerie Head should have a minimum distance. So, similar to Iridescent Coin, I think a survivor should have to be at least 10 meters away to get the insta-down with the hatchets. And I wouldn't have minded Eerie Infantry if that was the case. So you can keep Eerie Infantry, right? 3 hatchets. It's only an insta-down, though, if the survivor is more than 10 meters away. I personally would have preferred that change versus 1 hatchet and basically still the exact same. I'm going to get right up under you and get the damn insta-down every time. I think this would have been for a more interesting add-on change. But not bad. Not bad nonetheless. At least they've gotten rid of Eerie Infantry and Eerie Leather Loop. And I don't know if this was the change to Eerie Head any of us really wanted. You know, I think we just wanted that 1 hatchet to feel like it was a skilled shot versus, you know, it's just a free one, you know, free insta-down. I think everybody wanted to feel like, oh, damn, well, she landed a good shot, so all right, you got me. Do you know what I mean? Like similar to Iridescent Coin. If you can get that snipe, all right, you deserve the insta-down. That kind of deal. I think that's how people want it to feel on the receiving end. But I don't know how Huntress mains are going to react to this. We'll see. We'll see. The Twins. Camp and Slug City. Small set of tweaks for the twins. This is going to be interesting. Increase the cooldown after successfully downing a survivor with Victor from 3 to 5 seconds. This is a very good change. Camera control is now immediately restored when taking control of Charlotte. Silencing cloth increases undetectable duration to 20 seconds upon taking control of Charlotte. And iridescent pendant increases exposed duration to 30 seconds when a survivor crushes an idle Victor. I don't like that change. I'm not a fan of that. Like, if you're using Victor to camp a hook and you crush the Victor, now you're exposed for 30 seconds. You're insta shot. You're one shot for 30 seconds. I don't think you should be punished for that long for making a smart play to stop hooks being camped or gens being, camped by an idle Victor. I don't really think that's a good change. Jesus, the twins are they're just the worst. I'm not a fan. All right, perk updates. Small game. Guys, there's more. I thought that was it. All right, there's more. Perk update. Small game has had some changes. Small game now shows a number of... We got a totem counter, boys. We got a totem counter. Okay. This is pretty cool. I'm a big fan. Of this. We got a totem counter with small game. I think small game is a solid B tier perk. It no longer detects killer traps, which is perfectly fine. They don't want one perk to unfairly target one killer. So I figured this change was gonna come at some point in the future. And the detection range is decreased by 5 degrees for each totem cleansed. So as the totem counter counts down and there's less totems remaining on the map, the range in which the perk detects totems gets smaller and smaller and smaller. I don't know if that was necessary. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that was very necessary, but okay. I don't think that change was necessary, but I guess they wanted to add a downside since they gave you a totem counter now. But very welcome change with the totem counter. You're gonna see small game a lot more. Now this perk could potentially, give perks like Detective's Hunch, a run for its money. And I think that perk is phenomenal. Lucky Break. Lucky Break now hides scratch marks in addition to blood pools to help you lose the killer. To compensate, the total duration has been reduced to 70, 80, 90 seconds for tier 1, 2, and 3. This change does make the perk more usable, but I'm not so sure those timers are enough though. Like, I don't know if that's enough time, because that may just be 1 or 2 chases. Do you know what I mean? A killer with good tracking, etc. That may only be 1 or 2 chases of no scratch marks, no blood pools, but I guess that is more than fair. I'm spending a lot of time on it because I'm trying to think in practicality if how useful it will be. It's a good change. It's a good change. It's a buff. It's definitely a buff. 100% a buff. The timers is what concerns me. But definitely a buff. It's a good change. I'll definitely test it out. Soul Guard. Small change here is Soul Guard now has a cooldown of 30 seconds after activating. I don't like this. I don't think Soul Guard needed to be nerfed. Like, devs, the biggest problem in this game and the most unfun factors in this game the entire community is constantly speaking about is camping, tunneling, and slugging. Stop nerfing the perks that defend against those playstyles. How do you nerf Soul Guard? How do you add a cooldown to Soul Guard? I don't like this change. I really don't like this change. I don't think this perk needs that. If a killer wants to slug left and right and you have Soul Guard to protect and help you against that playstyle and not let matches snow. Like, no one has fun crawling around for 4 minutes. Someone picks you up, you're instantly back down. Like, nobody has fun in a match with that happening. Nobody enjoys that. It's not fun. So how do you nerf something that protects against that? I would not do this change. I would not do this change. Just me though. Open-handed. Open-handed now has an increased effect, 8, 12, and 16 meters, but no longer stacks with itself. This makes the perk more appealing on its own without needing to stack it. That's a great change. Xenshin Tactics, very straightforward. It's permanently active and also has a larger range. So it is no longer the killer version of Windows of Opportunity. It is basically a permanent Windows of Opportunity with increased range. That's a good change. I think that's a good change. I definitely think that it's not a very widely used perk, and it, you know, gives killer a lot more intel on what resources are around so they can strategically, you know, zone the survivors better. I think that's a good change. I like that. It's a big buff to the perk, but I think it makes it way more usable, and it will also, you know, be way more strategic. So I like it. Borrow time. Wait. Oh my god. If you guys fuck with borrow time, to remove some confusing intricacies with how borrow time interacts with some killers and the oblivious status of Freddy, 100% Freddy. Maybe we got what I talked about earlier, guys. We have removed the terror radius condition from the perk. Excellent change. Here comes a downside. We can't wait. To compensate, we have reduced the duration of the endurance effect to 8, 10, and 12 seconds for tier 1, 2, and 3. That's fair. That's more than fair. I'm with it. I'm with it. So wait a minute though. Wait a minute. So they removed the terror radius effect, but does that mean it's distance based? Does that mean if the killer is within 32 meters, 24 meters of the hook, you still get borrowed time? They haven't given us specifics in that. They said they removed the terror radius condition, so if you're oblivious, aka Freddy, then that happens. But what about undetectable? Undetectable also means no terror radius. Does that also mean you still get borrowed time for those insidious? Why is insidious still a perk? Devs, if you're listening, you want to keep insidious. Insidious can be such a strategic perk in the right hands, but obviously it's only used for one stinking reason. Bubba, you can kiss my ass. Devs, simple, plain and simple. Insidious cannot be activated within 12 meters of a hooked survivor. Period. We fixed it. Look, guys. Look. Took me 3 seconds. We fixed the Insidious camping basement bullshit, right? Insidious cannot be activated within 12 meters of a hooked survivor. Done. Fixed. No more of that horse shit. Now where people can actually play the game and have fun. Devs, like some of these things are so simple. Guys, it's so simple. It's so simple. And now people can actually use Insidious in loops, in, you know, certain situations and use it strategically. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand sometimes. I don't understand sometimes. Object of Obsession. I did not like this change to Object. I'm one of those people, you know, for the devs to say that, you know, single digit percentage of people that use this perk actually escape the match, but they still change it because killers don't like knowing that a survivor knows where they are. You guys know, if anyone watches my gameplay, 95% of my matches are solo queue. So I play a lot of solo. I've used Object in the past, but I don't think it's a very good perk, you know, especially against undetectable killers. I think it's not a very good perk. So I find it very interesting. Here's my problem, right? I find it very interesting that killers hate this perk, right? They hate this perk because they swear anyone using this perk, they're always in comms with Survive with Friends, and they're gonna lose the match because one person has this perk and is calling out their locations at all time, right? Killers hate this perk. It's not very effective. Single digit percent of people use this perk survive. So out of the 100 people that use this perk, 3, 4, 5 people survive the match. according to the devs' numbers. But killers hate it, so they're changing it. Okay, so why won't you address camping, tunneling, slugging, that every survivor hates, that makes so many people not want to play the game anymore, that literally frustrates the entire play? Why won't you change, or at least put in some punishable aspects to those play styles? If you're changing a perk that is not effective, less than single digit number of people that use this perk actually escape with it. It's not effective, but it's annoying. It's frustrating and it's annoying, but you're willing to change this. Why won't you address the other things that people are constantly talking about that create very unfun and annoying playstyles? At least introduce elements of counterplay, and at least introduce elements. Do you understand what I'm saying? Introduce elements where if you choose to play that way, you don't take away the ability to camp, to tunnel, to slug. You don't take it away. But if you choose to play that way, there's increased counterplay now, and it's more punishable. It's not that hard, but you'll change this perk that is not very often used, and when used is very unsuccessful. But you'll change this perk. That's my big problem with this change, is you'll address something so simple that has a super low success rate, but not the things that everybody's been saying like really make them not want to play the game at all. Don't take it away as far as you can't camp anymore, you can't tell them, but no, just make it more punishable. Add more counterplay and make it more punishable. That's all the community really wants. I guess the survivor community, because killers feel, just do gens. Let me camp and tunnel in peace, just do gens. There's nothing wrong with slugging all four and everyone crawling around for 3 minutes. That's so much fun, guys. Very interactive. I'm sure that's how the game was designed to be played. I'm positive. All right, moving on. These changes, basically, anytime your aura is revealed to the killer, if you're not the obsession, anytime your aura is revealed to the killer, their aura is revealed to you. So if the killer has barbecue, you will see them when they can see you, to basically show you that they have barbecue. You also gain a 246% bonus to healing, repairing, and cleansing speed. That's not going to be a difference maker at all. That's useless to even add to this perk, to be honest with you. If you are the obsession, your aura is revealed to the killer for 3 seconds every 30 seconds. I don't think this is a good change to the perk at all. I would rather you change the perk into something completely different that has no ties to this aura reading stuff, you know. This new version has a few benefits. Who are you trying to convince? It's a horrible change. Being able to track the killer. No, you're not able to track the killer, because you can only see the killer when they can see you, if you're not the obsession. And when you are the obsession, you can see them every 30 seconds, which is not any kind of way to really track the killer. Like, no, it's not. It's a horrible change. Being able to deduce which aura reading perks the killer is using when it's mostly going to be barbecue. It's mostly going to be barbecue and chili, so, which does not need to be nerfed. Survivors, stop complaining about barbecue. I do not understand how you guys complain about barbecue. Barbecue actually has counterplay. Yes, you're kind of punished for it in a sense, because you do lose, you know, gen repair progress, but barbecue and chili is fine. Stop complaining about barbecue. It's perfectly fine. And being able to attract the killer and then sneak away before they can get there. Who are you trying to convince, devs? Who are you trying to convince? It's a horrible change. This new version has a few benefits. There's so many benefits. You can track the killer, right? You can be able to attract the killer and then sneak away before the killer can get there. Who are you trying to convince? It's horrible. It's horrible. Not a fan. Miscellaneous balance. Guys, I've said this before. If anyone watches my live streams, said it before, I'll say it again. The toolbox changes are the biggest nerf I have ever seen in any video game. Like, they did toolboxes something fierce. Mind you, old toolboxes were broken and needed to be nerfed. I am not defending old toolboxes, but they nerfed the old toolboxes by over 600% on average. That nerf was some toolboxes are useless. You can only use them for Sabo for the most part. Oh, but you can use a BNP. A BNP is not just a toolbox. I'm talking about toolboxes. I'm not talking about BNPs, right? But man, the toolbox nerfs was something vicious. What are they changing? The chance to receive a skill check while using a toolbox has been increased. All right, so toolboxes aren't getting addressed anyway. This change makes toolboxes feel more interactive while they're in use, and is totally not because the lead designer had a skill check challenge and got unlucky 3 matches in a row. First of all, a toolbox lasts less than 25% of a gen. So in the end, if you're using a toolbox and you're not getting a skill check, that toolbox is not going to freaking... Toolboxes were not the issue here. Mr. Lead Designer, toolboxes were not the issue here. So let's increase the skill checks instead. You know, little shit like that, guys. Little shit like that. I'm curious. I am so curious to see what other people are going to think about that change. In my opinion, toolboxes need to be buffed. When I say buffed, they need to be at least twice what they are right now. At least. The minimum buff toolboxes need to get are twice of their effectiveness of what they do right now. To compensate that in regards to Sabo, maybe increase the number of charges it takes to Sabo hooks, so that balances it out. But as far as gen repair, as far as using toolboxes on gens, toolboxes need to do at least double what they do right now. If you knew old toolboxes and you know new toolboxes are useless. Useless. The toolbox is done in 5 seconds. It's absolutely useless. That's just such a horrible change, but I think that's what it is. It is what it is though, guys. You know, you're not gonna get everything you want. That's just the game. What I feel is what I feel, so I'm sure a lot of people will disagree, and maybe there's a couple people that will agree. I don't know. It is what it is. It's just from my experience of playing the game. Hatches, another small tweak. We have discussed the time the hatch remains open after key is used. They've adjusted it, so they decreased it from 30 seconds to 10 seconds. Like before, if the hatch closes naturally, and meaning it's not kicked shut, the match just continues and the endgame collapse does not start. So, for all of you people that have not gotten that where did they go trophy, I think that's what it's called. Achievement, trophy, depends what you play on. For those of you who haven't gotten it, you better try to get it quick, because keys are about to be nerfed, and that trophy may not really be too much more possible. But yeah, I'm not against that change. That's fine. Who cares? I don't use keys. Most people don't use keys. Like, as much as people say like keys are big, like most people don't use keys. So you don't really see keys. I don't see keys a lot in my matches. You know, I barely see keys. So, you know, as much as there's something that needs changes, there's so much less common, you know? So this change is gonna be like minimum if you ask me. Keys will still be getting the changes and they'll update us as soon as they can. HUD update. All right. Can you please make the character icons horizontal? The 4 survivors horizontal, put their name under them. I do not need to see that some survivor's name is Captain Booty Scratcher. I don't care what their name is, or at least give us the ability to hide their names. I hate seeing all this text all over the screen. Like, I like clean interfaces. The old interface was so clean. And even though the new interface has been improved, it still looks clunky. I don't know if anyone else agrees with me. I feel the new interface still looks clunky, and I would like to see the 4 survivors side by side versus create that L effect in that corner. I don't like it. Maybe you guys like it better or don't mind it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. All right. The HUD update is Doctor's Madness, Nightmares Dream World, Sleep Timer, Plagues, Infection, and Stock meters will be more visible. Also, we've adjusted the survivor portraits so they no longer obstruct the bottom of power indicators. That's a good change. And struggle update. They're going to change the way struggling works in the PTB. Instead of mashing, you will now receive occasional skill checks. and they're not looking to make struggling more difficult or deadly at this time. Missing one of these skill checks does remove a chunk of your struggle meter, and if you do not attempt to hit 2 consecutive skill checks, you will be immediately sacrificed. So if you intentionally don't press anything for 2 skill checks straight, you will immediately die. So that's going to be the new way to kill yourself on Hook. As you receive skill checks, your struggle meter will gradually decrease at the same rate as before. Our goal is to make struggling more accessible to players with repetitive strain injuries while keeping struggling as an interactive mechanic. I think that's a great change. Graphical updates: Cold Wind Farm, Thompson House. I don't know what that is. What's this? Arbiter's Poppycock? I don't remember. Look nice. It looked nice. They look nice. More maps with no pallets and completely unsafe and unmine-gameable pallets. Hope you guys are waiting. Alright, boys. Well, this is coming. Most of the maps have already been reworked, and there's probably only 1 or 2 more realms left to rework. I'm curious to see if they'll make any changes to Hawkins. Larry's was the first rework, so I'm wondering if they'll make any changes to Hawkins and Midwich, even though those are technically the 2 newest maps, since the majority of the player base do not find those maps very balanced or do not enjoy playing on those maps. It would be curious to see if they actually look to revisit, to rework, or even just tweak those maps a little bit once all of the older maps and old realms are done. That's going to be really interesting. I'm curious about that. Let me know what you guys think. I personally think Midwich needs an entire rework. Hawkins, not as bad, but Hawkins can be tweaked here and there. But I think Midwich needs an entire... Midwich is just the worst map in the game. And I don't think anybody really enjoys playing on Midwich. So, as much as it looks great, you know, design-wise and aesthetically, like, the playability of the map is very bad. So, I'm curious to see if they'll revisit that map once the older maps have been put into the new gen of the map design. So, very interesting. What did you guys think about this developer update? What changes did you like? What changes did you not like? You know, I shared my opinions. Your opinion can be different, and that is perfectly okay. Some things that I said you may agree with, some things you may disagree with. Let me know why you agree, or let me know why you disagree. You know, at the end of the day, I think we can have a lot of great discussions in this game if we remain objective and actually have discussions instead of telling people you're a freaking idiot because you think differently. So let's not do that. No, jokes aside, I thought most of the changes were great. Some of the changes I was not a fan of, but I thought most of the changes were great, and the new maps look great. So, you know, that's encouraging. It's encouraging, and let's hope that this game just continues to get better, and they continue to address things that are not being enjoyed by large percentages of the community. Let's hope that that becomes a thing, and the devs do continue to listen to the player base. If they're gonna listen about perks like Object, I just don't see how they don't listen about other things that have been plaguing the community for such a long time. And I think that's what builds a lot of frustration with this game. You know, I think that's what builds so much frustration in this game is, you know, they'll make changes to things that nobody is complaining about or asking for. Like, who was complaining about balanced landing? Who was complaining about hitting great skill checks? Who was complaining about people being able to hit great skill checks? And you still nerfed that. Like, nobody was complaining about these things. No one cared. And at the end of the day, there's so many more things that need to be addressed versus those types of things. So let's hope that this game continues to trend on an upper direction. And the Freddy changes are a great place to start. I think they need to look at Leatherface next. I 10,000% think they need to look at Leatherface next, but it's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys thought about these changes in the comment section below. I hope you guys have an amazing day. It's your boy MaineMania. Thank you for watching, and I'm out. Peace.